All right, let's dive into this week's stack. We're zeroing in on the AWS announcements from June 9th through the 13th, 2025.
Yeah, another busy week.
Always. And if you're building on AWS, you know how quickly these updates pile up? I mean, there's just so much happening constantly.
That's definitely the challenge, isn't it? The sheer volume, it covers everything from, low-level infrastructure right up to high-level AI services. Keeping track is, well, it's a job in itself.
And that's exactly why we're here doing this. Our mission, really, with this deep dive is to cut through all that noise. We've pulled out what we think are the key announcements, the ones with real technical impact.
Right, so you get the essential knowledge nuggets without having to, wade through pages and pages of docs.
Exactly. We'll walk you through what's changed, why it matters, especially for technical users like you, and hopefully give you a few practical ideas.
Think of it as your shortcut to getting up to speed on the really relevant stuff from AWS this week.
Perfect. So we've grouped these by theme just to give it some structure. Let's jump straight in with developer tools and productivity.
Okay, sounds good. Kicking us off is a move towards more openness. AWS is now open sourcing their AWS API model.
Open sourcing the API models. Okay, what does that actually mean for like a developer day-to-day?
It means they're publishing the official definitions of their APIs. So not the service code itself, but the precise specifications. They're using the Smithy format.
Smithy, right.
And they're putting these out daily on GitHub and also Maven Central.
So it's basically the blueprint for how you talk to AWS services, but straight from AWS itself.
Exactly. And that's pretty significant because it gives you the exact same definitions AWS is using internally. For tooling, that's, well, it's gold.
How so?
You can use these models to build, say, really robust mock testing environments, or maybe power those evolving model context protocol servers, MCP servers. Or even generate your own custom SDKs, tailored to a specific language or need, using the open source Smithy code generators. You're getting the source of truth for the API structure directly.
Yeah, that direct access to the official spec. That feels incredibly valuable for building reliable tools and integrations.
And speaking of tools, Amazon Q Developer has several enhancements this week, too.
Q Developer. Our AI coding assistant, what's new there?
Well, first up, there's improved integration using the Model Context Protocol, or MCP.
Right, MCP, that's the open standard for letting AI models securely talk to external tools and data, yeah.
Exactly. Standardizing how AI interacts with the outside world. So now, the Q Developer IDE plugins can connect to external MCP servers, specifically ones supporting the Studio Transport.
Okay, and the implication is?
It means Q Developer can orchestrate tasks using not just its built-in capabilities, but also your own custom tools or data sources, as long as you expose them via an MCP server.
And you manage that?
Right within the Q Developer UI in your IDE. You can manage these external tool connections there.
So it's becoming much more extensible, more integrated into your specific, maybe unique development workflow.
Precisely. It basically augments Q Developer's built-in power with the context from your own environment. And this is available in VS Code, the JetBrains IDEs, and also the CLI.
That sounds like a really significant step for customizability.
Yeah. It is. Also, for Q Developer, they've made it easier for Builder ID users to upgrade to the Pro tier.
Okay, so you don't necessarily need a full, complicated AWS account setup just to get higher usage limits anymore.
That's right. If you're using Q Developer in your IDE or the CLI, which is a free Builder ID, and you happen to hit the limits, you'll get a streamlined prompt. It helps you link an AWS account and upgrade to Pro.
Nice.
It removes a potential barrier, for individual devs or maybe smaller teams who just want more capacity without a lot of setup fuss.
Good bit of friction reduction there. Makes sense.
And one more for Q Developer, a notable preview feature. This is for its transformation capabilities, specifically targeting Java upgrades.
Automated Java version bumps, is that the idea?
Yes. But crucially, with more granular control, this new CLI feature allows for what they're calling selective transformation.
Selective? How?
Well, you can describe the changes you want using natural language, or you can provide input files to customize the upgrade plan.
How deep does that customization actually go? Can you give an example?
Yeah, you can select specific steps from the overall transformation plan that Q suggests, and then execute and review those independently. And maybe most importantly, for dependencies.
Ah, the tricky part.
Exactly. You can specify exactly which first-party or third-party libraries and even which versions Q developers should target for upgrade during that JDK version bump.
Okay, that's the key practical bit, isn't it? Automated upgrades are nice in theory, but being able to guide it, break it down, focus on specific problematic dependencies, that makes it vastly more usable for complex real-world apps.
Totally. And they mentioned it's been tested specifically to enhance the success rates of these transformations and, naturally, reduce the manual effort involved.
Which is usually the biggest time sink in a major Java upgrade. Okay, interesting.
Now, for developers building AI applications, particularly using Amazon Bedrock Agents, there's a useful new utility. It's part of Powertools for AWS Lambda.
Powertools, right? Helps with common Lambda patterns, boilerplate stuff. What's this Bedrock Agents utility do specifically?
So when a Bedrock agent invokes one of your Lambda functions to perform an action, there's some standard boilerplate code you normally have to write.
Like parsing the request, getting parameters.
Exactly. Parsing the request from the agent, extracting parameters correctly, and then formatting the response so the agent understands it.
And this new utility just handles that.
It does. It provides built-in parameter injection and also handles the response formatting. So it significantly cuts down on the amount of repetitive code you'd otherwise have to write.
Letting you focus just on the actual business logic of the Lambda function itself.
Right. And it integrates seamlessly with the other Powertools features you might already be using, like logger, metrics, tracing.
Ah, good.
So it brings that consistent, idiomatic Lambda development experience that Powertools provides, but specifically tailored now for building these agent-based AI applications. Just a nice developer experience improvement.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. Moving away from developer tools specifically, let's hit our next big theme, security, identity, and compliance, always a critical area with AWS updates.
Definitely. And a pretty significant update here for organizations using AWS Control Tower. They've added support for 7 new compliance frameworks.
Control Tower, that helps set up and enforce guardrails, best practices across multiple accounts, right? So how do these new frameworks fit in?
Well, Control Tower's control catalog.
Yeah.
Where you browse and enable various preventative or detective controls. That catalog now maps its existing controls to a whole new set of frameworks. It's quite a list. CIS version 8.0, FedRAMP revision 4, ISO 270.1.2013 Annex A, NIST CSF version 1.1, NIST SP 800.171 revision 2, PCI DSS version 4.0, and the SSAE 18 SOC2 from October 2023.
Wow. Okay, that's a broad sweep of major industry standards. So what's the practical benefit for users?
The key significance is really helping you accelerate meeting these various compliance requirements and doing it with higher confidence. They've enhanced the control catalog search, too.
How so?
Controls are now mapped more clearly to domain, objective, and common control identifiers. Kind of aligns the mapping experience more closely with how AWS Config presents things. Plus, there are new APIs to access these mappings programmatically.
So you get a clearer, more unified picture of how your foundational control tower setup actually helps satisfy requirements for multiple key standards all in one place.
Exactly. And this is available across all the regions where Control Tower is offered, including GovCloud. Okay, moving to a more forward-looking security update. AWS KMS now supports post-quantum ML-DSA digital signatures.
Post-quantum. Okay, so this is about addressing the threat from, future quantum computers breaking current encryption.
That's exactly it. ML-DSA, which stands for Module Lattice Digital Signature Standard. It's an algorithm that NIST has standardized specifically to be resistant to attacks from those potentially powerful quantum computers down the road.
Why is this particularly relevant now, though? Are quantum computers an immediate threat?
Not an immediate widespread threat for breaking crypto today, but the concern is primarily for signatures that need to be valid for a very long time and are hard to update.
Likey.
Think about things like firmware embedded in hardware, or code signing certificates for software that might be deployed for years or even decades, or documents that need long-term validity.
Right. If those signatures get broken later by a quantum computer, it could invalidate software systems. Big problems.
Precisely. So supporting ML-DSA and KMS now is a proactive step. It lets you start issuing signatures today that are designed to withstand that future threat.
And does it integrate smoothly with existing KMS workflows? Or is it a whole new system?
No, that's the good part. You use the standard create key and sign APIs you're likely already familiar with. Your existing IAM policies, your auditing via CloudTrail, that should all work just fine.
Okay.
KMS just introduces specific new key specs for ML-DSA. They're named ML-DSA 44, 65, and 87, and the corresponding signing algorithm. It's rolling out in specific regions first, but they plan to expand it. Now, here's an update that could really change the cost equation for fine-grained authorization. Amazon Verified Permissions has had a major price cut.
Oh, how major.
Up to 97% reduction for single authorization requests. It's now down to $5 per $1 million API requests.
$5 per million. Wow, that's massive. What does that enable for users practically?
Well, it makes implementing those really granular authorization policies substantially more affordable across all your applications. Remember, Verified Permissions uses that open source Cedar policy language.
Right, to decouple the permissions logic from your actual application code, centralize it.
Exactly. And at this new price point, you can now realistically afford to check authorization for basically every single action a user might try to take in your application.
Adding a much deeper layer of security without, breaking the bank on authorization checks.
That's the idea. It removes a significant cost barrier that might have prevented some folks from adopting that really robust, fine-grained, check-everything security model. This applies to the is-authorized and is-authorized-with token APIs.
Yeah.
Okay, one for auditing and security visibility. AWS CloudTrail has enhanced its logging for S3 bulk object deletions.
You mean when you use the delete objects API call, the one that lets you nuke multiple files from S3 at once?
Right, that one. Previously, CloudTrail would log that as just a single event. It told you the batch operation happened, but didn't necessarily give you the specifics of which objects inside that batch were successfully deleted.
Yeah, leaving a potential gap in the audit trail if something went wrong or you needed proof of deletion for specific files.
Exactly. So now, CloudTrail will still log the main delete objects event, but it will also generate individual delete object events for each object that was successfully deleted as part of that bulk call.
Okay. Granular per object detail, even within a bulk operation.
Yes. Gives you a much more complete and verifiable audit trail for those bulk S3 deletions, which is obviously critical for meeting many compliance requirements and just helps immensely with troubleshooting if deletions don't behave as expected.
Makes sense. I assume you can filter these if needed. Could generate a lot of logs.
Yep. They mentioned you can use advanced event selectors in CloudTrail to manage the log volume if that's a concern. And finally, for this security theme, AWS WAF now offers automatic application layer DDoS protection.
WF, the Web Application Firewall, protects at layer 7. How is this protection automatic?
This uses a specific AWS managed rule group that's designed for really fast detection and mitigation, they say, often within seconds. The main operational benefit is that it automatically detects patterns that look like application layer DDoS attacks.
Using machine learning.
Yeah, using ML models that learn from your application's normal traffic baseline.
And then it automatically takes action. Does it block or?
Yes, it automatically applies configured rules to the suspicious traffic. You can configure those rules to either challenge the requests, like with a CAPI-TC-HA, or just block them outright.
Okay.
It's available for folks using mobile WAF, particularly with Shield Advanced, on resources like CloudFront, application load balancers, etc. The main win here is reducing that manual effort and stress during an attack. Trying to react fast enough manually can be tough.
All right, good set of security updates. Let's move on now to networking and connectivity.
Sounds good. Starting with the region expansion, Amazon VPC IPPAM is now available in the Asia-Pacific Taipei region.
IPM, that's the IP address manager, helps manage IP address pools across your VTCs, right? Takes away the spreadsheet pain.
Exactly. Automates IP address planning, tracking, assignment. So now customers building in the Taipei region get that same capability. They can organize their IP space based on routing or security needs, set business rules, automate assignments to VPCs and subnets. All that's good stuff.
So bringing consistency across regions.
Right, and they noted it's now available in all AWS regions globally, including China and GovCloud US. So full coverage for IPAM now. Okay, here's a potentially pretty significant operational update for people using AWS Cloud WAN.
Sure.
Security group referencing and also enhanced DNS support are now generally available GA.
Cloud WAN, that helps build those global private networks connecting VPCs, on-prem locations, etc.
Yeah.
How do security groups normally work across different VPCs in that scenario? It can get messy.
It can, yeah. Managing security group rules for traffic that crosses VPC boundaries over a network like Cloud WAN could become complex, especially as you scale. You might hit rule limits.
So what does security group referencing change?
With this new capability, you can now include references to security groups that exist in other VPCs connected via your Cloud WAN directly within your own security group rules.
Ah, okay. And why is that a big deal?
The main benefit is massively simplified management and also increased scale. Think about it. A single rule referencing another security group can now effectively cover potentially thousands of instances sitting behind that remote group, even if their individual IP addresses change over time.
Right. So you avoid constantly updating rules with specific IPs, and you're less likely to hit those security group rule limits as your applications grow or change.
Exactly. It's a really practical improvement for larger, more distributed environments using Cloud WAN.
And the enhanced DNS part.
That allows public DNS host names to resolve to private IP addresses, specifically when the DNS query originates from a VPC that's attached via Cloud WAN.
Yeah.
Useful for certain hybrid or private networking setups. Both of these are regional features, by the way, operating within the same Cloud WAN core network edge.
Okay, good stuff. Let's dive into databases and storage updates now.
First up, Amazon RDS for DB2 now supports cross-region standby replicas.
Okay, improving disaster recovery options for DB2 running on RDS.
Yeah, this can significantly reduce your potential database downtime in a disaster scenario. Instead of having to wait potentially hours for a backup from another region to be restored and brought online.
You can just promote a standby replica in that other region much faster.
Exactly, almost immediately. It uses asynchronous replication between the primary and the standby region.
How many standbys can you have?
You can configure up to 3 cross-region standby replicas, and they also pointed out a potentially interesting licensing cost benefit.
Oh, for DB2 licensing?
Yeah, specifically for customers using commercial DB2 licenses, like Bring Your Own License, BYOL, or through the Marketplace. Because the standby replicas aren't actively serving write traffic until promoted, you might only need licenses covering, say, 2 vCPUs per replica, regardless of the actual instance size you choose for the standby. That could be a significant cost saving depending on your setup.
That licensing detail is definitely crucial for anyone managing costs with commercial databases like DB2 on RDS. Good tip.
Okay, next for DynamoDB Streams users. The Kinesis Client Library, or KCL, version 3.0, is now supported for processing those streams.
KCL, the library that helps you build applications to consume and process data from streams like DynamoDB streams or Kinesis data streams. What's new in version 3.0?
The main headline benefit they're touting is potential compute cost reduction. They're saying up to 33% savings for the compute resources processing your stream.
How does it achieve that?
Apparently due to an enhanced load balancing algorithm in KCL 3.0. It distributes the stream shards more efficiently across your worker instances.
So basically more efficient use of your EC2 instances or containers that are running the KCL workers.
That's the idea. It's also built on the newer AWS SDK for Java 2.x, which generally offers better performance and security compared to the older 1.x SDK that KCL 1.x used.
And upgrading. Is it difficult?
They say the upgrade path from KCL 1.x is designed to be pretty straightforward, so potentially lower costs and better performance for your stream processing applications. All right, visibility into costs is always a hot topic. Amazon S3 tables now provide storage cost visibility right down to the individual table level.
S3 tables. That's the service letting you query data in S3 using SQL without moving it, like a virtual table over S3 objects.
Okay, so previously, seeing costs for specific S3 tables was hard.
Exactly. You could see your overall S3 storage costs, obviously, but attributing how much of that cost was due to the data backing a specific S3 table was, well, manual work, if possible at all. Now you can see storage cost information broken down by individual S3 table directly in AWS Cost Explorer and also in your AWS Cost and Usage Reports, the CUR files.
That's super useful. It gives you much more granular insight into where your data lake storage costs are actually coming from. Helps attribute costs to specific teams, projects, better optimization. Precisely. You do need to make sure you have resource-level data collection enabled in your cost management preferences or your CUR configuration for this to work. But yeah, much better visibility. It's rolling out across all regions where S3 tables are available. And just a quick update for RDS Custom for SQL Server users.
Go on.
They now support Cumulative Update 18, that's CU18, for SQL Server 2022.
Right. Pretty standard practice for RDS to keep up with the Microsoft CUs, bringing in the latest bug fixes and performance improvements.
Yep, exactly that. Brings the CU18 benefits to your RDS Custom SQL Server Environments Developer, Web, Standard, Enterprise editions. The upgrade process is the standard path via the console, SDK, or CLI.
And just as a quick reminder for listeners, RDS Custom is the one that gives you that deeper access to the underlying OS and database environment, allowing more customization and supporting both license included and bring your own media options.
Correct.
Okay, great. Moving into our next theme block, compute, AIML, media services, and infrastructure. Kind of mixed bag here.
Yeah, definitely diverse. First up, a new EC2 instance availability. Amazon EC2 IHE instances are now generally available in the Europe-Ireland region.
IAG, those are the storage optimized ones, Graviton-based, right?
Correct. Storage optimized, powered by the latest Graviton 4 processors. Bringing them to Ireland means customers there can leverage that improved compute performance up to 60% better than the previous Graviton-based i4G instances, they say.
And they use the newer Nitro SSDs, too, for better local storage performance.
Yes, that's a key part. Up to 65% better storage performance per terabyte compared to i4G, with lower latency and less variability. It's all built on the Nitro system, of course.
What kind of workloads are these ideal for?
Really demanding transactional or real-time databases, think MySQL, PostgreSQL, NoSQL stores like Cassandra or ScyllaDB. Also good for real-time analytics platforms like Spark, especially where having that low-latency local NVMe storage is critical.
And they come in different sizes, presumably.
Yep, 10 sizes are available, going all the way up to a 48x large, offering substantial memory and local storage capacity, plus high network and EBS bandwidth. Okay, switching to AML. A potentially significant update for anyone training large models. Amazon SageMaker AI GPU instances are seeing price reductions.
Ah, interesting. Following the price cuts we saw recently on the equivalent EC2 GPU instances.
Seems like it, yeah. SageMaker AI instances, specifically the P4 and P5 instance types, which are heavily used for large model training and generative AI workloads, are seeing price cuts of up to 45%.
Up to 45%. That's substantial.
It absolutely is. This directly impacts the cost-effectiveness of developing and training those big generative AI models using SageMaker's managed platform.
Does it apply everywhere? On-demand savings plans?
Yes, applies to both on-demand usage and savings plans in all the regions where these P4 and P5 SageMaker instances are available. They also mentioned reduced prices on their flexible training plans, specifically for P5, P5e, P5en, and Trend 1 instances, but only in regions outside the US for that part.
Okay. Still a big cost-saving potential.
Definitely. It's AWS passing on cost efficiencies they're achieving, making that high-end AI training potentially more accessible. Sticking with AI, but moving to voice. Amazon Novasonic now supports the Spanish language.
Novasonic. That's their newer speech-to-speech model, right? Designed for more natural, real-time voice conversations.
That's the one. So this update expands that capability to Spanish speakers. They've added expressive Spanish voices to the model.
And the key thing about Novasonic is that it unifies speech understanding and generation in one model.
Yeah, that's part of its design. It aims to adapt better to the acoustic context, pauses, tone, etc., to make the dialogue feel more human-like and less robotic.
More natural and conversational sounding.
Right. And it also supports those more advanced capabilities you might need for complex interactions, like function calling, integrating with agentic workflows, and grounding its responses with external knowledge sources.
Okay, now for animation VFX, rendering workloads. AWS Deadline Cloud has added worker performance monitoring. Deadline Cloud is their managed service for running render farms in the cloud. What does this new monitoring dashboard show you?
It gives you visibility into the CPU and memory usage of your actual render farm workers. The EC2 instances doing the heavy lifting.
Ah, okay. Why is that critical?
What's really important for operational efficiency and troubleshooting? You can see if your renders are slow because workers are hitting CPU or memory limits.
Right, are they bottlenecked? Or
That's
maybe
right.
the opposite.
Exactly. Or, conversely, are you paying for really large instances where the workers are actually sitting mostly idle, barely using the CPU or memory?
So it helps you figure out if your instances are sized correctly, potentially saving costs by downsizing if they're over-provisioned.
Precisely. Helps optimize resource usage and costs for your render farm. Now, this next one could be pretty big news for organizations with significant existing VMware investments. Amazon Elastic VMware Service, or Amazon EVS, is launching into public preview. And alongside that, they've announced integration with Amazon FSx for NetApp on NTAP.
Okay, break that down. Amazon EVS. This allows running VMware Cloud Foundation, VCF, directly within your AWS VPC as an AWS service.
Yes, exactly. It's a new service enabling you to deploy and run full VCF environments, the whole VMware stack directly on AWS infrastructure, but managed through AWS while still using your familiar VMware tools and processes like vCenter.
And public preview means it's now more widely available for testing than the initial private preview.
Correct. You can start exploring that, perhaps migrating non-production workloads initially. It leverages VCF license portability, so you can potentially bring your existing licenses. They provide a guided workflow to help you set up the VCF environment on AWS.
What runs underneath specific instances?
During the preview, it supports VCF version 5.2.1 running on bare metal i4i.metal instances. And importantly, environments you deploy during the preview will carry forward when the service eventually hits general availability.
Okay, and the integration with FSX for NetApp ONTAP. What's the significance there?
This is a really key component. It means you can use FSX for ONTAP as an external data store for your EVS VCF environments, instead of relying solely on vSAN storage within the cluster.
You can use FSX. Why is that better?
The big advantages are providing scalable, high-performance storage that can be managed and, crucially, scaled independently from your VCF compute cluster.
Ah, independent scaling. So you don't have to add expensive compute nodes just because you need more storage capacity.
Right. And you could potentially leverage FSX for ONTAP's features like automated tiering to manage costs. Plus, for customers already using NetApp ONTAP on-premises.
Provides operational consistency.
Exactly. Operational consistency. And you can leverage all those familiar advanced ONTAP data management features, snapshots, clones, replication, now supporting your VMware workloads running natively on AWS via EVS. EVS public preview is available in 5 regions to start. Okay, rounding out this diverse theme, AWS Glue is now available in the Asia-Pacific Taipei region.
AWS Glue, the serverless data integration service for ETL, data cataloging.
That's it. So this just brings Glue's capabilities discovering, preparing, combining data for analytics ML apps using either the visual interface or code closer to data sources for customers operating in that Taipei region.
All right. Next up, let's look at mobile and customer engagement updates.
First one here is for the AWS Console mobile app. It has added support for CloudWatch log insights.
Oh, wow. That sounds incredibly practical. Accessing log insights directly from your phone.
Yeah. The significance is pretty clear. It enables technical users, maybe sysadmins or SREs on call, to search and analyze their CloudWatch logs data while they're away from their laptop.
So if an operational issue pops up,
you can potentially investigate the cause, look for error patterns, maybe even validate if a fix you deployed worked, all right there from your mobile device.
Definitely improves incident response capability when you're on the go.
For sure. You can find it via the Services tab within the app. It just augments the existing mobile app features like resource monitoring and push notifications. Okay, for Amazon Connect users, there's enhanced control over the communication limits for outbound campaigns.
Connect, the cloud contact center service. And outbound campaigns are for making proactive calls or sending messages to customers, right?
Correct. They've introduced the ability to set an instance-level total limit that applies across multiple campaigns running within that Connect instance.
Ah, an overall cap? Why is that useful?
The main significance is gaining more flexibility and control to help ensure compliance with regulations, like the TCPA in the US, for example. You can set an overall cap on your instance's outbound communication volume.
But what about critical communications, like fraud alerts?
Good point. You have the option to opt out specific critical campaigns from these instance-level limits. So things like fraud alerts or maybe emergency weather updates can still go out even if the general limit is reached.
Okay, so it allows for more nuanced, compliant, yet effective targeted engagement strategies.
And still with Connect, Amazon Connect Customer Profiles has rolled out a whole suite of new capabilities. These seem particularly relevant for the travel and hospitality industry, but parts are useful more broadly.
Customer profiles. That's about building that unified 360-degree view of the customer, right?
Right.
Which can be really hard in travel and hospitality with all their different systems.
Exactly. So first, they've specifically added seamless data ingestion and mapping capabilities designed for common travel and hospitality industry systems. They mentioned support for over 75 sources, plus a direct integration with Amadeus.
So simplifying getting that fragmented data into one place.
Right. Then, to actually access that unified view, there's a new interface called Profile Explorer.
What's special about Profile Explorer?
The significance here is providing your customer-facing staff, maybe at a hotel check-in desk, an airline gate agent, or contact center agent with a really intuitive interface. It gives them real-time access to that unified customer information, their interaction history, even AI-driven insights, all in one place.
Customizable view. Searchable.
Yes, customizable. And you can search using multiple identifiers like phone number, loyalty ID, reservation number, etc. It also includes AI-generated summaries to help agents quickly understand the customer's context.
Ah, the AI summaries are interesting. What else?
There are also enhanced calculated attributes. This feature lets you derive new insights from the raw customer behavior data, things like calculating lifetime value or identifying a preferred communication channel without needing complex engineering work.
And what's enhanced about them?
The enhancements include better timestamp controls, the ability to backfill calculations using historical data, and increased limits.
Timestamp controls and historical backfill. That sounds important for accuracy, especially if data arrives late or out of order.
It really is. You can specify the actual time an event occurred, even if it's in the future, like an upcoming appointment. And you can process historical data accurately. This enables more sophisticated use cases, like tracking long-term customer behavior patterns or managing appointments correctly, ensuring the insights are accurate and relevant regardless of data ingestion timing.
Okay, interesting developments for customer engagement. Let's look at our next theme, finance and marketplace updates.
First one here. AWS is extending its financing program for AWS Marketplace purchases. It's now available to essentially all U.S. customers.
So businesses can get financing directly through AWS for buying third-party software in the marketplace, not just for AWS services.
Correct. It's about simplifying and accelerating that whole procurement process for marketplace software. U.S. customers can now apply for, use, and manage financing for their marketplace buys directly within the AWS Billing and Cost Management console.
What kind of purchase sizes are we talking about? Is it for big deals only?
No, it covers a wide range. They say you can finance purchases from $10,000 all the way up to $100 million, although obviously subject to credit approval. And for loans up to $350,000, they're offering near real-time decisions.
Okay, so it provides cash flow flexibility, letting companies spread payments for larger software contracts.
Exactly. It applies to purchases that have contract terms of at least 12 months and can cover purchases from multiple software sellers. It's available in most U.S. regions, though there are a few state exclusions listed. And sticking with the marketplace, they've also streamlined the management experience for private marketplace.
Private marketplace, that's where an organization's admins can create their own curated catalog, controlling which third-party products their users are allowed to procure from the main marketplace, right?
That's the one. So admins can now create and manage these custom private marketplace experiences, defining the approved product list for their entire organization, or maybe just specific OUs or accounts directly from within the main AWS Marketplace console.
So less jumping around, a better UI.
Yeah, the significance is really a much improved configuration and management experience. They aim to reduce the setup time and the ongoing effort needed to maintain these private catalogs.
Any specific improvements mentioned?
They highlighted a new multi-step wizard for creating a private marketplace from scratch and an enhanced wizard for handling bulk product approvals or rejections. Plus, there's now a dedicated change sets page.
Change sets? For tracking?
Yeah, it gives you real-time visibility and a clear audit trail of all the management actions taken, who approved what, when, etc. Makes governance easier. And it supports multiple languages now, too.
All right. And that brings us to our final theme, open source.
Just one announcement here this week, but potentially an interesting one. AWS has open-sourced P-Active.
P-Active. What is that?
It's a PostgreSQL extension designed specifically for enabling active replication.
Active, meaning you can have multiple PostgreSQL instances, maybe in different locations, that can both accept write traffic simultaneously.
Yes, that's the core idea. It enables asynchronous streaming replication between instances that are both actively handling writes. The significance is improving resiliency and flexibility. Well, you could use it to maintain availability during maintenance by switching write traffic seamlessly to another active node, potentially even across regions. It gives you more options for high availability and distributing load.
Does it build on PostgreSQL's built-in replication features?
It does. It leverages PostgreSQL's logical replication capabilities, but adds features specifically designed to simplify the setup and ongoing management of these active configurations, which can traditionally be quite complex.
And open sourcing, it means?
It encourages community collaboration. AWS is basically inviting others to contribute and help evolve active capabilities for the broader PostgreSQL ecosystem.
Wow, okay. That really was a packed week across the board, wasn't it?
It truly was. I mean, everything from deep developer tool enhancements and foundational security updates like post-quantum crypto, right through to new services targeting specific workloads like VMware with EVS, and even significant cost optimizations in AI training.
Yeah, looking back at the list, a few threads really seem to stand out to me. There's definitely a continuous push towards more granular control and visibility. We saw that with the S3 tables costs, the enhanced CloudTrail logging for deletes, even the selective Java transformations in Q Developer.
definitely.
And we're also seeing that continued effort on making services more accessible and integrated, like the Q Developer MCP support allowing connections to external tools, or that Powertools utility simplifying Bedrock agent integration.
And don't forget tackling those complex specific workloads head on, like with EVS bringing VMware Cloud Foundation natively onto AWS, integrated with FSx on tap storage. That's a big move.
Absolutely. So for you, the technical user listening, these updates, when you look at them together, they really provide more levers for efficiency, right? Deeper security postures, new capabilities for building and operating your applications.
Yeah, it's a lot to potentially take advantage of.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's maybe something to consider. Thinking about all these updates we just discussed, the dev tools, the security stuff, networking, databases, AML cost cuts, the operational visibility improvements, is there one specific announcement or maybe a combination of a couple that could directly help you solve a current challenge or simplify a task you're facing in your projects, maybe even this week?
Yeah, take a moment, maybe after this, just to reflect. Which one piece of information, which new feature or capability could make a practical difference for you right now? That's often the best way to internalize these updates.